in my last video, I did say that I wasn't as excited for this fight as I was for the Brunson Cannonier fight and for the Tuivasa Derek Lewis fight, for the fact that I really like all four of those guys. And I'm just really excited to see it, especially Lewis versus Tuivasa. And it's actually possible, Israel Adesanya has had a share of kind of boring fights. And even Whittaker, you could say that some of the ones where he's been like technically kind of outpointing people, but they're usually a little more exciting. So I guess that's also why I'm a little excited. But now to think about it, I am very interested in seeing the adjustments. And ever since Robert Whittaker got destroyed by Adesanya, people aren't really giving him a chance in this one. I've seen people say, ranging from, Israel's going to destroy him again to Robert Whittaker's going to do a little bit better. He'll survive, but he's never going to beat Adesanya. He's going to win decision, or, only the best version of Robert Whittaker and like a C-level version of Adesanya is going to win. He hasn't gotten much respect, even after picking up 3 very solid decision victories after that fight. I would even argue that those 3 decision victories show a great composure in his game. Especially, he got rocked by Darren Till early in that fight and then proceeded to dominate. Fight against Jared Cannonier, he also came out strong. I think he lost the first round, if I'm remembering. I don't remember if he lost early, but I think early on Jared Cannonier was winning, and then Robert Whittaker ended up taking over in third round, like almost finishing. I don't want to say almost finishing because Jared Cannonier is like made out of cast iron, but like definitely hurting him. And then with Kelvin Gastelum just fighting such a smart fight, every time there was danger on the feet, he was able to take him down. And I actually ended up making money on that fight, had Whittaker by decision. So I'm happy. I actually lost money on him because I thought Cannonier was going to take it, and I lost money on Whittaker when Darren Till won. Because I thought Darren Till was going to win. I think I got him like plus 120. But I thought that after, kind of like Adesanya, embarrassed him and the way he fought, like I kind of like was, obviously he's an amazing fighter and a former champion, but I just thought that the other guys were going to take over. But Whittaker has shown an ability to kind of reinvest himself, and I really like the guy. And we'll see what he can do. Now, just before I comment about the odds, just wanted to kind of talk about Adesanya. Adesanya, world-class kickboxer. I mean, absolutely, every time you underestimate him, he just destroys people. It's possible that he could be like kind of John Jones, where he, doesn't even feel like fights are competitive. That's why he's not training as hard. But obviously he's saying, he says this as much as everyone else, that Jan Blachowicz is kind of showed the blueprint to beat him, and Jan could have probably used that earlier on. When he fought Yoel Romero had a good idea of, being a little cautious, but he just didn't engage enough and didn't use his wrestling because he didn't have the gas tank. Costa kind of fought him the dumbest way, unfortunately, and then Vettori, Vettori's a very skilled fighter, but I don't think he's at the level of Whittaker. Whittaker is Whittaker's a former champion. I mean, I do like Vettori, and I love him as a fighter. Hopefully he can come back and actually, Vettori can come back, especially after beating a heavy Paul Costa. Although I felt like Paul Costa could have won that fight. I felt like he landed the harder shots. I really hope that Vettori, he improves and becomes champion. I know that's something that was his dream, and he seems really passionate about it. And I really like him, so I hope he wins. But overall, he just kind of, he beat Vettori by decision in a kind of a boring type fight. But maybe that's the fight that he needs to stuff the takedowns. So now, on to the odds. A couple things stand out to me. So it seems like Israel Adesanya is expected to win by decision, because I'm looking here. I see I'm looking at winning method for Adesanya to win by knockout is plus 165, but to win by decision is plus 150. He's expected to win by decision, which is interesting. Kind of makes sense. People expect Whittaker's going to come in with a better game plan, but still going to get outpointed and lose. So I think that not enough people are giving Robert Whittaker credit. I think that he was able to take down Kelvin Gastelum, and if you look at Kelvin Gastelum's wrestling against a very solid wrestler and a big, strong guy in, oh my God, who's the guy who he actually out-wrestled, but I thought that the other guy was going to out-wrestle him. It was the guy, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to look it up right now. Ian Heinisch. I thought Ian Heinisch was going to out-wrestle him, and Ian Heinisch is a very good wrestler. But it seems like he really didn't do his best. But still, the fact that Kelvin, as a smaller guy, was able to take down Ian Heinisch to secure that win by decision, that was a very great performance. Actually, I wanted to just comment on that real quick. There was a guy, and who would always have these 3-leg parlays that would hit for like 30 grand. They'd show him on the broadcast. I wonder what happened to that guy, because you could just see it, and that was one of them. I remember like he had a 3-leg parlay, and the third leg was Kelvin Gastelum by decision. And I actually had Ian Heinisch money line, and I was like, oh shit, this guy's always right, and he ended up being right and hitting that 3-leg parlay. But that's neither here nor there. Just wanted to comment that. I wonder where that guy is, or maybe he just made a bunch of money and retired. But going back to this fight, so that Israel to win by decision, I originally thought that there was two ways of looking at that fight: either grabbing Israel by decision at plus 150, or grabbing Robert Whittaker at plus 225, because a lot of people are underestimating him, or just doing like a hedge where you do Whittaker plus 225 and Israel by decision, but you just even out the amount of money that you bet so you get the same payout. But now, looking at it, I remember like one thing that Yanni the Greek was talking about is that, in betting, you don't want to bet the same at what everyone else is thinking. So you're not going to get the best odds because everyone else is thinking Israel by decision. I actually think that the play is, because everyone seems to think this fight's going to decision, evidenced by over 4.5, minus 135, under 4.5, plus 105. I think the play is under the 4.5, grabbing at plus 105. I really think that that's not a bad play. Everyone's expecting this to go over. No, not everyone, but I mean, that's a pretty high over-under considering that both these guys have a lot of knockouts, especially Adesanya. I actually think that this fight is going to be almost not competitive in either direction. And what I mean by that is, I think if Whittaker can get Israel down to the ground early, he can either finish him or dominate him on the ground. And if you look at the fight against, obviously they're not the same fighter, but Jan Blachowicz, he almost finishes Israel Adesanya in the 5th round, and he didn't use his takedowns early. So I think that it's possible that that Robert Whittaker, if he can get him to the ground, he can dominate Adesanya. And if Adesanya stops the takedowns, he knocks Whittaker out, or at least outpoints him. So I guess there is a way, that you can say that, hey, that why are you saying under 4.5? Either way, it could end up being decision. I do agree with that, but obviously in betting, nothing's ever guaranteed, and I just think having 4.5 rounds where both these guys can finish each other, I don't think that's necessarily a bad play, taking the under, or maybe sprinkling something on Whittaker. I think that, Adesanya is too much of a favorite. Again, Adesanya, I do understand how people are, favoring him to win, but I think Whittaker at plus 225 is not a bad play at all. I mean, Whittaker could ground and pound his way to a victory, maybe even a submission, or he could just maybe dominate by just holding Israel on the ground. Israel does have great takedown defense. He's a tall guy. He knows how to use his range. But still, it is a possibility. Whittaker has been shown a good possibility to mix that up. You could also say that Israel Adesanya has success gotten to his head. He's a great, amazing fighter, great champion. And even if success has gotten to his head, he's so damn good that he could still, win just by his amazing skill set. But regardless, I still think that of all the plays, either you sprinkle something on Whittaker at plus 225 or you take the under 4.5. I really think that that's the better play. I mean, maybe Israel by decision at plus 150. Actually, now with a lot of people thinking he's going to win by decision, maybe it's better to put him again by KO, TKO, DQ plus 165. So one of those. I mean, again, I don't think if you're going to bet Israel, you pick a side plus KO, TKO, DQ. Maybe you're better off because you get slightly better odds. But I like the under. Or I mean, the only thing is, even if you grab him by KO, TKO, DQ, and decision, that the double chance, you're only getting freaking minus 250. I mean, that's pretty sucky in my opinion. So yeah, I really think that's the play, the under 4.5. So thank you guys for listening, and please like and subscribe, and I appreciate it. And I'll be putting out some new videos very shortly for some of the other fights. Thanks so much.